We're on the journey, the road to the ProcureTech Cup. So welcome to this episode. We're episode 4, as I mentioned. So we met with Airbase Creatives in the past 2 weeks, and today we have Axya on the show. And we've got 22 more demos planned every Friday at noon Eastern time from here until March 2025, when we'll have the official ProcureTech Cup tournament running on LinkedIn. So if you're just joining us for the first time, I encourage you to go see the Airbase, the Creatives episode, even the launch where I explain really the concept and what we're going through, and to join us for the rest of the journey here. So today, really quickly, 30-minute show. We have Axya, which I'll present in a second here, who's going to do a company overview. They're going to talk about their unique value proposition of their platform in this space, the ideal customer profile for their platform, and then we'll get straight into a solution demo so you can have some meat on the bone of what the solution does. And then we'll map it to the Pure Procurement ProcureTech market map with Felix. And Felix will actually join me here. So hi, Felix. Felix Bilil-Dockrell is the CEO and co-founder of Axya, a source-to-pay platform designed specifically for manufacturers. And I'm really happy to have you on the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Joel. Really excited to be part of this tournament and today's presentation.
Yeah, so tell me a bit more about Axya, about how it came to be, how long you guys have been around, the core problem you're trying to solve. I'd love to know more.
Yeah, definitely. So my background is mechanical engineering. I worked in a big aerospace company, had to manage suppliers, experienced some of the challenge firsthand. I saw that the tools for procurement folks didn't really evolve. My go-to was email, Excel spreadsheet. I'm pretty sure a lot of people experienced this before. So 5 years ago, just before COVID, we decided to launch a platform to really connect manufacturers together and support our economy and industry.
Beautiful. And I know you have some slides prepared for us. So I'll put them up on screen here just for you to be able to give us more context before we get into the demo.
Perfect. So as we discussed, Axya has a platform really to optimize the sourcing process. We achieve this with a high level of automation, collecting valuable data and leveraging it. Company was founded in 2019. We're supported by investors, and as of today, we have over 7,000 manufacturers using our solution. This range from small machine shop up to large organization. The company is now 35 employees. We operate from everywhere in the world, so the value that we provide to our customers, we also work in similar fashion. And since we manage supplier and customer data, we have the highest level of certification, control goods, SOC 2 Type 2, to make sure that we protect our customers' data properly. In terms of what we do, as I mentioned, it's a source-to-pay software. So we have different modules that we'll dive into today. So we do RFQ management, purchase order, contract, supplier management. And for each of those modules, the goal is really to automate the low-value tasks, simplify collaboration, and provide visibility through high-level data. In terms of the way it works, and we'll dive into the demo, but to make it simple, we digitize your supplier network, we extract it from your ERP, make it available in the platform. From there, you can create requests for quotation, get prices, compare them, move into a purchase order, track it, manage the payment, and everything done on the platform, collect and structure data for your KPIs.
And Felix, when you say digitize your supplier list, does that mean like just creating vendor masters in your solution, or is there an onboarding, like a human aspect to that as well?
Both are available. So as of today, as I mentioned, over 7,000 manufacturers. So most likely some of the suppliers are already on the platform, but if there's an onboarding required, we support it. And I'll show today in the quick demo what it looked like from a supplier perspective. As you'll see, it's pretty easy to use. So just in terms of solution, before we dive into the demo, there's really 4 components. First one is the buyers, the procurement folks, the way they can engage with the solution. We have ERP integration, email integration, and the Axya platform, which is, as you'll see, easy to use. If we go on the bottom side, we update the ERP in real time, so we can read the information, make it available on the platform. But if there's some decision taken, we push it back into the ERP. And on the manager side, it can track everything that's going on. And for the suppliers, there's multiple ways of engaging with our solution, making sure it's easy to use for them. I'd be ready to move into a short demo. So I'll switch to the Axya platform. So here you can see I'm logged on our account. If I draw your attention in the middle, you see that there's a recap. This is our Axia intelligence based on what is important for your company and your team. We have some insights that are driven by the activity done. Slightly below, you have some recaps on the activity. We'll cover it afterwards. And if you look on the top left corner, there's a navigation bar where the different modules are available. It goes from the analytics, the request, the purchase order, and really depending on the configuration that you have, this navigation bar will be updated. So this really becomes the control tower for the individual. If you're a manager, you can see high level of activity of what's going on. What are your colleagues and supplier doing? If there's specific milestones coming in. And as a buyer, you also have this interface, but it would be configured based on your reality. You can use the search bar on the top right to look for specific information. And as I mentioned, we have an integration with Outlook. So when you receive communication from your suppliers or other partners, you can easily sync it into Axya to make sure that all the information is available there. Finally, we sync with your ERP system. We have integration with the most common ERP, so SAP, Infor, Genius, whatever you're using. We make sure that the data in your ERP is reflected in the platform and that the action you take in the platform is reflected in your ERP.
And for the sync with Outlook, is it kind of like a, for lack of a better comparison, a CRM, right? Where if I connect it with Axiom, it's reading the numbers. I'm able to contextualize the emails to the actual transactional documents.
Exactly. So once you receive a communication, you can activate the tracking. So it's you decide what is being tracked. And there's a form of intelligence that will read, for example, the purchase order number and recommend some association. And once the tracking is activated, all the following exchanges will be synced into your platform. So it makes sure that all the information that is typically lost in the emails is now available for you and your colleagues. So I will dive into the purchase order. We'll focus on that first module. So first thing you notice when you log on that platform, you have high-level overview with some summary of the key information. And we really wanted to create a tool that is easy to use because we see that for a procurement team, usually that information is fragmented in multiple emails, Excel spreadsheet, and different colleagues might have different views. So for us, it was super important to create a centralized view where we can track all the ongoing activity of yourself or your colleagues. So you can apply different filters to make sure that you track information that is relevant for the activity that you'll be doing during the day. Once you open a purchase order, and those are synced with your ERP, so as soon as a purchase order is created, you'll have an order that appears here. You're able to see who's the user, some key information about it. But when you open it, you're able to see the content of it. So you have the bill of material. If there's other information shared with it, it would appear here. Same thing for the revision, so the actual PDF of the purchase order. There's a simplified view here that we can configure based on your reality, the type of information that are important for you. But what is really useful is the exchange with the supplier. So we create a full log of all the exchange that you had. So once the PO was created, when it was confirmed, if there's changes that were proposed, and also if you confirm those changes. As soon as changes are confirmed, we create an updated purchase order that is sent to the supplier. So rather than spending hours updating all the different databases that you have, Axya will take care of this for you.
And so if I've got, an SAP backend system, for example, which can also use confirmation data to, update my MRP plans and or, have impacts on my production schedule, et cetera, Axya is feeding that data as well. But I'm using Axya as kind of a confirmation exception management platform until I can send the final data to the ERP, right?
Exactly. So really the way we see it is that we're bridging the gap between your ERP system and your network of suppliers. Typically, this is done by a team of procurement folks that have a lot of requests to manage at the same time. And to make sure that the information is up to date, it either requires a lot of work or a large team. So by automating those tasks, we can make sure that everyone keeps up-to-date information. Another really useful feature is the automated follow-ups. So we can configure it based on the frequency that you think is relevant for the type of orders, the type of suppliers, or a specific period of time. So the platform will send those reminders to the supplier to make sure that the information is updated, and then you can rely on it. So if we go back to the summary, you're able to use the Axya platform to see what are the top priorities, if there's changes that require attention, and finally, have an overview of your supply chain. Now I'll move quickly into the supplier side of the platform. So as I mentioned, we have the opportunity to track everything by email. So this is an example of what a supplier would receive. We can customize it the way we want. There's some summary of the information. They can access the PDF documents. And if they click on View PO, they will access a no login page where they're able to have similar information than the one you had as a buyer. So you can see same structure. You have the line items that are required. You have the dates up there, and you have a track record of when it was created and when it was approved. As we know, a lot of time there's some changes. Maybe there's a shortage, so you need to update the delivery date. Maybe there's changes in the price per part. So there's an action panel where you can easily decide, for example, to modify a date. You select that date and you can choose a new updated date and ask your buyer to accept it. So rather than having those multiple email threads to create that exchange, the platform is able to structure it. Suppliers find it super easy to use. And this way we can make sure that the information is updated at the right pace. I'll get back into the buyer side. So we focused on the order management at a really high level. Information is created in the ERP, sync with the suppliers. Every change is logged in the platform. You have a nice overview of what's going on. And we do the same thing for the request for quotation. So once a request is created, you will have the bill of material that is synced here. Based on the nature of the request, some suppliers can be invited. You have your groups of suppliers you've worked in the past, and you're able to track at a high level who provided prices, if they did not provide prices, and you have other insights on those suppliers.
Then, like right there, we could see the quoting rate, right? Like right up front, I can kind of see that, you know, what to expect from these types of suppliers from a quoting perspective.
Exactly. And this can be tied to the nature of the request. So are they quoting a lot on CNC machine orders or some sheet metal? So it gives you some insights on what to expect. And in the case you have some changes to do, you can always invite other suppliers from your approved supplier list or expand your network.
And those are suppliers that are on the Axya network that I wouldn't necessarily have in my backend system.
Exactly. So in certain cases, it would make a lot of sense to expand the network. In other cases, you want to work with your approved supplier list, and this can be set up in the way that makes most sense for you. Everything that I just showed can be automated from no automation, manually created the request and targeting the suppliers, partially automated with some recommendation, or fully automated, which can make sense for orders that you do on a recurring basis. Once the quotes are received, the platform will structure it in a format that is relevant for the way you take your decisions. So we will convert in the proper currency with the rate that we agreed on. And from there, you're able to quickly use the smart selection with scenarios that we set up. For example, in this case, I have the lowest price or the lowest lead time. And when I activate this, as you saw, some of the prices have been highlighted to make sure I fit the scenario that I have. Those scenarios can be more complex, for example, with the limited numbers of suppliers you want to work with or other parameters. But all the data crunching that buyers are typically doing on Excel can be fully automated on the platform. And here you have a nice recap. So rather than spending time copy-pasting information, you're really looking at your scenarios and making sure you take the best decision for your supply chain.
And so what I'm getting a sense of as well, like I saw the user experience that you showed on the supplier side for the orders. I imagine it's something similar for RFQ. And I think that makes a lot of sense for like smaller volumes, but I'm wondering if for bigger suppliers where I'm spending, hundreds, if not thousands of quotes or orders during, a month or a year, like, do we have the opportunity to integrate directly with supplier backend systems as well?
Totally. So to get those prices and those information, there's multiple format. So some suppliers will send bulk price items or will provide custom quotes. The format can change, but what we do with our technology is we convert it in a format that is easy to use for you. So also, if you have in place some agreement with those suppliers, we can gather that information and you're able to see what is the source of that information, making sure that when you're ready to take a decision, everything that is needed appears in a single place. The final section I want to show an overview is the analytics. So you've seen two models quickly that I showcased. Everything that is done with those modules is structured and available in the platform. So here, this is my analytics for the request for quotation. You're able to see for all my suppliers and specific time frame what have been the activity. So those KPIs can be customized depending on what you're looking for, but we look at the best practice. So are you doing some single sourcing? What type of engagement are you getting from your suppliers? And now you can look at this over time, also look at specific suppliers and what have been the performance. So this really become kind of your supplier performance sheet. It creates centralized information that you can then use to target suppliers that you might want to work with more, put in place some agreement, and really strengthen that relationship. Or on the other way around, for example, you could look at orders, which one have been having a harder time meet their delivery deadlines. And in those cases, you might want to work with them to put in place some improvement plan or find other suppliers that might fit your needs better.
Very cool. We had a couple of questions in the chat, mostly around integration. So I had on YouTube, watching on YouTube, Pratik asked like how real time is the vendor master update from the ERP to your tool? And I saw a couple sync with SAP buttons or sync with ERP buttons. So I'm wondering if you could address that piece around the timeliness or the timing of integrations.
Yeah, great question. So depending on the nature of the information, we might be looking for higher frequency. In the case of vendor, we do those updates on a weekly or monthly basis because it's a less dynamic environment. Typically, our customers will add new vendors when there's a specific need and there's a conversation around it. But in the case, for example, of purchase orders and requests, we have updates every 5-10 minutes. Again, this is set up based on what we think is important for your company. So we've seen some companies go below the 5-minute mark and others multiple times a day was enough. But what is important is this is flexible and we configure it based on what is important for you.
That's great. And then we had another question, which a bit more technical. So a lot of technical folks on the call today. How do you exchange data between Axya and SAP in both directions? Are you using custom APIs? And what is the scope of data objects that you exchange? So thanks for the question, Floyd.
Thank you, Floyd. So we're an SAP partner, so we have standard infrastructure, but for every customer, there's a customization required based on the setup that they've built and the customization that they do. So typically when we do a deployment, we'll scope the integration, we'll look at the type of configuration we need to do for them. And within a month, we're able to do that integration. The fastest integration we can do can be done within a day when it's a standard setup. But when we get into more complex configuration, it takes a little bit more time and we can do in phases.
And more complex, I imagine, would mean like, custom fields that they have in their ERP. Like they don't have much of a clean core from an SAP terminology standpoint, right? And so you're having to do something that's special to that specific context.
Exactly. And we understand it's the nature of our industry. So we're really flexible on that front. We want to make sure that you can use your existing system, your existing infrastructure, and leverage the Axya platform to get more value out of those systems. But this requires some configuration. It's an expertise that we've built over time.
Very cool. So I brought the screen off. I think you had gone through everything you wanted to show us, right, Felix?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let me just bring up here the ProcureTech market map. So we've got Axya on the show today, and I bring this map up every time just so we have a common language around, how we look at these platforms, how you should be looking at and thinking about these platforms as well, right? We have folks where it's a very specific niche that they're only going to touch, one specific vertical or sub process within the source to pay process, and other platforms like Axya, where it's really being really wide functionality, but for a specific set of companies, right? So Felix, I don't know if you want to walk us through a little bit how you see the functionality in Axya when compared to everything that could be offered, right, by a solution, and where you're heading from a roadmap standpoint.
Yeah, for sure. So in terms of vertical and industry we work with, it's manufacturing and specifically industrial. So we look for engineering to order. Every time there's sourcing activity that are changing, we can create a lot of value. There's some automation and intelligence in the platform that makes it even more powerful for those customers. So industry like aerospace, custom truck, machinery equipment, all those industry can get a lot of value, and we do it with the multiple modules. So if you look on the screen, you have spend analysis and demand management. This can be done by looking at what you have inside your ERP, but also what the platform is able to get for you. And once you get into the sourcing, today we quickly look at the RFQ module. We can do really in-depth analysis with those tools. It's supported by the light contract management system, where we track the ongoing agreement that you have with your vendors. This is a module that we're currently investing in and improving, so we'll have more updates on that one in the near future. But once that order is placed, as you saw, we can do good tracking on the purchase order, and we can also match the payables at the end. If you look below in terms of supplier relationship management, all the intelligence gathered on your suppliers is structured in the platform, so we can simplify the onboarding process, gather the classification and qualification of your vendors, make sure it's up to date, and update whatever data management system you have internally.
Very cool. So this hasn't happened before, but I feel like we have some time left, right? So if you have any questions, let us know in the chat for sure, and we could discuss with Felix and with around the Axya platform. One of the things that I'm curious about is, from a roadmap standpoint, like what's bringing you to develop more contract management functionality, right? Do you see a need there, and where do you see the biggest pain points that you're solving, not just with contract management, but in general with the platform? Like, when is it the right time to get in touch with someone like Axya?
Yeah, so being a former user of the platform, one thing that I always keep in mind is, if I need to do my work and I need to alternate between multiple systems, it creates a lot of overwork that doesn't really drive value for the business or for myself. So we started with the sourcing process, the RFQ, and making sure that all the information could be managed within the platform. This took the form of the emails first, then the Excel spreadsheet, and the PDF. As soon as we built that solid module and we knew that everything could be done there and update the ERP, what was made most sense next was the purchase order. So you found your vendor, you place your purchase order, and you want to track what's going on with them. But the next thing that our customers asked us is, I'm tracking those suppliers, I'm putting in place some agreement with them. I want to make sure that this data is available in my platform to avoid going from the Axya platform to your Drive, and then you need to find the agreement and dive into this. So that's why we focused on the contract management. And when you look in terms of supply chain optimization, the more data you have on your supplier, the more opportunities to strengthen those relationships you will see. And the natural flow for us was really to build those features around the contract management.
Cool. So it's really just like a logical sequence, right? Like, if I can do this, what can I do next that keeps alleviating or keeping me out of inbox, Excel, PDF, other systems, and so that I have a one-stop shop. Arjun has a question here, and I think it's pretty relevant, right? So we saw the manufacturing piece, the parts, but is the solution suitable for both direct and indirect sourcing, or would I have to just use this specific solution for my direct PLM folks, right? Folks that are working on direct sourcing, or can I use it for all my sourcing?
So the solution is suitable for any type of sourcing. Indirect is something that we see a lot because usually this is a part of the organization where there's no tools in place. A lot of emails are required, a lot of Excel spreadsheet. So that have been a use case that we really focus on. But users shared that it was also applicable for the direct. And we have some customers that source everything through the platform. So typically company between 50 to 500 employees will get a lot of value with a system like this, but also large organization like Airbus or Pratt & Whitney will give that tool to specific team that have struggling with managing the requests that they have. And usually a good timing for us is when the company is increasing their sales and they look at the existing team and they see that the pressure is increasing. So one way to remove that pressure is really to automate the system with the Axya platform.
Yeah, the communications, right? Because that's like, you know, as you said, like, oh, finally it's not going to be Thursday, it's going to be Friday. And finally, you know, all these changes are not able to, we don't have confirmation. So we're not able to plan the rest of production with a high degree of certainty because we don't have specific dates. So all of that stuff's currently happening with phone, email, etc. And I see your platform as being able to help with that. Pratik's asking us another question here on the YouTube channel, which is, and it's the question that kills. So if we are into Ariba, or I would add even like Coupa, Evalua, GEP, the big source to pay suites, right? How is Axya different from such tools, right? How do you differentiate yourself?
So it's ease of use. That's the biggest challenge that we've seen. I'm a former user of SAP Ariba. In different expertise in the team, people use it as a supplier. And one of the challenges, usually those systems are hard to use. It requires some training and it slowed down the process. So when you're looking at something that needs to go really fast, you want to get your prices quickly. You want to compare your different options. A system that add friction in a context of labor shortage created a lot of challenges. So we made sure it's super easy to use. As you saw today, it's an intuitive interface. From the supplier perspective, they can easily share their information. With all the technology that we have to collect and structure that data and put it in the format, it make it really easy to use.
And I dare to venture to say that it could augment Ariba as well around specific commodities, right? Because I believe there's direct sourcing modules in Ariba as well. There's sourcing modules, etc. There's ordering, but on the ordering side, it's more for indirect, right? So to your point, like there's from a SaaS platform standpoint, like you may be able to give more a contextualized experience to direct purchasing.
Totally. I like the way you said it. So we really augment the existing tech stack. So if in your organization as of today, you feel that your team is overwhelmed, and one of the reasons is that manual work and the lack of automation from your existing system, Axya is able to really help in that setup. Another place where we're able to add value to the existing tech stack is really in terms of visibility and the quality of the data that we gather. So you saw the KPIs that I showed, but we can go really in depth, and usually the other platforms are not able to provide that level of granularity. So if team is overwhelmed or data quality is a challenge, we can be a great partner to enhance the existing systems.
Very cool. And I like the piece around, you know, being able to integrate suppliers into the experience without having you said, no password, no logon, right? Which is, to me, is often a barrier. Like you don't want to be doing password reset tech support type activities. Okay, we'll have about another 2 minutes here. I got 2 questions. We'll try to get through both of them. Will was asking if you could tell us a bit more about the spend analysis module. Is it different from the reports that you showed? And I think, you know, spend analytics is a really wide term, right? We've got solutions that specialize just in that and go very, very deep. So I just wanted to give you the opportunity to give it more context.
Definitely. So we set up different scenarios and different analysis that needs to be done, and you can access them in a dynamic fashion in the platform, or we export it in any format that you would need if you need to share that with other colleagues from finance or other procurement folks. So what I showed is the light version, but the different scenarios and workflow can be supported with our analytics.
Cool. And then the last question we had here is if you guys do anything in the ESG space. I imagine Floyd's referred to like capturing supplier data around ESG and being able to map that onto the orders.
Exactly. So in the vendor management, one of the application that we have is to get suppliers information. And the challenge is if you have a supplier portal that is hard to use supplier don't input the information there. So we made sure that we can collect information easily from them with high level of automation. So you can get your ESG information, any type of certification. So really that platform adapt to your strategic objective and it can be configured accordingly.
All right. Thanks so much, Felix. So where, as we wrap up the show here, can you tell us where to find Axya? Where's the best place to get in touch with you?
Definitely LinkedIn is a great place. You can find the Axya platform, reach out to myself or on our website at axya.co. If you have supply chain challenges, would be happy to discuss them with you and see how we can drive value in enhancing your existing systems.
All right, cool. Thanks so much, Felix. And for everybody else watching, thanks for tuning in to the Road to the ProcureTech Cup. This has been episode 4. We've got a load more episodes. So if you want to follow along, you can join the various events on LinkedIn. You can go at the Pure Procurement newsletter on YouTube to subscribe to get all the replays there or even watch it live. And you can subscribe to the Pure Procurement newsletter at newsletter.pureprocurement.ca, and we put all the recaps there of everything that's going on every week on top of articles on trends, best practices around digital procurement, and just trying to make everyone aware of the art of the possible with technology and how different companies are using it in their various contexts. So to get everybody digitally literate in our organizations and procurement functions getting even more powerful and impactful in our day-to-day here. So Felix, thanks again for joining me. Much appreciated. And we'll see everybody next week.
Thank you, Joel.